don't do couples counseling, but I have recommendations. So she sent us 3 recommendations. One was a woman of color that was Christian. Another one was a white woman that wasn't Christian, but her energy was awesome, according to Dr. Shante. And the third one was a black woman who was a sexologist. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is before I sent those options to you. Mm-hmm. And then I remember sending them to you, and you were like, but that sexologist, though. That sound like you were like, I feel like we should go with the sexologist. I was like, I knew you were going to say that. And I was kind of like a little nervous about it. I remember feeling that way because I was like,
you were nervous all the way up, leading up to when we finally met.
Welcome to another episode of Dooley Loved.
Welcome.
Where we talk all things black.
All things blackly black, black.
With love. Hallelujah, amen. Mm-hmm. And today, I am your host, or one of the hosts, Erin V. Lashley on Instagram, and you are, babe?
I'm the secondary host. My name is Kendall Lee Dooley, Dooley.Kendall on Instagrams.
And today we're going to be talking about our very first session with our pre-marital counselor, sexologist, Miss Renelle E. Nelson, and giving you guys some insight into that. But before we get into it, what I'd like to do, I meant to do this last time, is I want us to talk about one person or thing that makes us feel fully black or inspires us to be fully black in who we are in our blackness.
Were we going to do that at the end? Or are we going to do it now?
Well, we were going to do it at the end last time. I forgot. So I'm like, let's put it in the beginning.
Might as well put it in the beginning this time.
And it doesn't need to take long. So who do you got, babe?
So it has to be a person?
It can be a person or a thing or a book or, a noun. It's a noun.
Well, the first thing that came to my head when you said that was the show The Proud Family.
Yeah?
Yeah, the show The Proud Family.
You were watching that as a kid.
Yeah, I watched that as a kid growing up, and it was just like, it was one of those few black animated shows I watched as a kid that I really resonated to in my lived experience of this black family navigating the world and sometimes different like black church culture jokes and different things. It was just funny. I feel like it was really part of my sense of humor. And then also they're revamping and making
they're bringing it back.
A new Proud Family. I think February this next month. They're starting on Disney Plus. And so I've been thinking about that, and I've been excited for that. And so that was always a thing that made me feel like, man, not many other people will get this. Like my white friends growing up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, I don't watch The Proud Family. They wouldn't get this. But this is something that I can kind of like, that feels kind of like exclusive to me because I'm black. Yeah. And so it kind of made me feel part of black culture and part of blackness just because of how I resonated with the show and how my family and I would watch it and laugh together.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's the first thing that came to mind. How about you, babe?
I was going to say something else, but I think I'm changing my mind. I'm going to change it up a little bit. So I am actually getting locks installed into my hair February 1st.
Ooh, it's
at
coming
11 a.m. I'm so excited.
It's a brand new look.
It's a brand new look. They're going to be starter locks. We were contemplating putting some of Kendall's old locks that he's either cut or they've fallen off over time because he's been growing his hair out for 13 years?
Yeah, they haven't fallen off.
I knew you were going to feel some type of way how I said
They haven't fallen off. I'd cut my hair. I cut all my sides, grew some of it back, and reattached the ones I cut off.
Until the reattached ones fell off?
The reattached ones are falling off.
Yeah. Because your hair is I think it's just maturing.
Yeah, it's
and
probably
just
maturing.
Getting stronger and heavier.
Some of it early on was falling off because it was probably too heavy because some of them were baby. Like these, I had all of this cut off back in 2018.
Which wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I know, and it's already this long.
It was like 4 years ago.
Yeah. And It's already this long.
You know what's funny is my brain still thinks it's 2020 sometimes. Because I hear 2018, I'm like, oh, that was like 2 years ago. Yeah. No, it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, I feel that
That's
too.
Crazy.
Because we're still in the 2020 cloud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, yes, I don't want to interrupt you, but you're just saying all of that has grown since then, yeah?
Yeah, but before it was little baby, and so it was too weak to hold my reattachment locks that were bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
So it fell off.
But, so we were thinking about doing that, and I say it was my sister's been learning how to install locks, retighten locks. She has locks. My mom has locks. Eldon, my youngest brother, has locks. Eric, the older brother, but he's a year younger than me, has locks. If my dad had hair, I think he'd have locks too, to be quite honest. So I'm kind of the last one in the bunch to get locks. And it's kind of fun because I was the last one in the bunch to get married, and I'm the last one in the bunch to get locks. But I say, why is this experience the one thing that makes me feel as of late fully Black and fully who I am? There's something about walking into a Black salon with Black women that look like you, talk like you, sound like you, that are talking to your hair and telling you that it is fully good and fully beautiful. And she literally showed me, she's like, if you put your hair under a microscope, there'll be little strands that come out like little trees, almost like these, how they come out on the sides, because they're meant to lock. Like your hair is literally meant to lock. Even as she was I got some starter locks.
How afros become nappy, right? And all
right, because it's literally, if you don't do anything with it, it will lock naturally because it's supposed to lock. But having grown up in all white spaces and being in places where people don't understand my fro, they don't get it, like, why isn't your hair long or this or that? But it was so beautiful to be in a space where I'm fully myself and I don't have to explain myself to anybody, and to like almost be mothered with my hair by a matriarch in locks. You know what I mean? It was really cool, and I really loved it. It just came from it a couple hours ago.
I guess I never realized that. Have you? Because I guess you haven't been to like a Black salon
before this salon. No, ever, never.
Never? You never been to a Black salon?
My granny, before she passed, back in the day, used to have a hair salon in the inner city of Chicago. Yeah. And we would go get our hair hot comb pressed back in the day.
Yeah, I remember some of those pictures.
Okay. Yeah. I'm like, what you know about pictures? Okay, I guess I did show you some. But, besides that, never. And that was like, I don't know, 20 years ago, at least, probably more like 25 years ago, because I'm 32.
You go to barbershops before to get your sides cut.
Yeah, and that was a interesting experience,
trying to find the right one.
Yeah, trying to find the right one. There was one time in particular, which I won't go too much into this, but the dude was just, his hands were in too many places. He was touching me. I was like, bro, like, hello? Yeah, I remember telling you about that. So anyways, that was another different story. But regardless of the fact, that is one experience that has made me feel fully Black, fully who I am. The salon is in North Phoenix, if you're interested. Deeply Rooted AZ. It's owned by two sisters, Black sisters that have been growing out their sister locks for a long time. They inspired my mom to get her sister locks. My mom started with little itty bitty starter locks, and they were all curly, and now her hair's like almost down to her butt. Her buttocks. Yeah. But she's killing it.
Who are you saying, your mom? Or you said?
Yeah, my mom. I'm kind of exaggerating, but her hair is hecka long. Because I knew you'd be like, her ain't about her. Whatever. Just let me talk. Let me be great. But anyways, yeah, that is the experience. But let's get right into the episode. Let's get right into the topic, because I know you clicked and you're listening because you're interested in who in the world does premarital counseling with a sexologist.
Everyone's always surprised when we tell them
that. Isn't that crazy?
Especially being in Christian spaces.
I know.
When we tell different Christian or believers that come from.
Don't forget to talk to your mic.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, babe.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you, because I've been talking a lot for a little bit, why don't you talk to them about how it happened that we chose Miss Renell?
Sure. I can say something like that, but what I was going to say before that was in different white evangelical spaces and Christians, it is kind of a foreign thing. And when we would say that we're meeting with a sexologist, and kind of be a little confused, have more questions, because in Christian spaces I know that I think both of us have been in, it's kind of traditional when you to meet with a pastor or someone from the church to do your premarital counseling. And so us going with a sexologist, I feel like was a unique thing.
Yeah.
But you want me to tell a story? I feel like you're the one that ended up connecting with who we saw, Miss Rennell, who we met for our sexology.
Okay.
Because she was connected with your therapist,
Dr. Shantae.
Yeah, your therapist, Dr. Shantae, and she's recommended amazing. Her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we even talked about it in one of our other videos on Patreon where we talked about doing the bracket, or how that brought up some like different sexual baggage and trauma and stuff that you carried, and you're like, man, it would be beneficial maybe to see a sexologist. I want to say even maybe came from that time too, where you're like, man, like it'd be more beneficial to meet with a sexologist.
Well, let's get our facts straight.
Yeah, go for it.
Essentially,
yeah, I don't recall.
It's okay, man. We were looking for someone to do our premarital counseling. We know we wanted to do premarital counseling, but we wanted to do a little bit differently, like meet with a licensed therapist that wasn't necessarily in the church. It was your suggestion for me to reach out to Dr. Shantae and see if she would do it. And she was like,
that sounds right.
Hell no, I ain't doing that. She doesn't like doing couples. No, let me finish.
Yeah,
let me
finish.
finish.
I'm trying to think.
You were like, would she do it? And so I was like, didn't even really get around to asking her, but I was telling her about the conversation that we were having about it. And she was like, I don't do premarital counseling. Like, I don't do counseling for couples, period. It's like, that's not her thing because it takes a certain amount of gifting and energy to interact with people like that.
I don't think I wanted her to do it.
You did, babe.
Because I said maybe that's something that she would recommend being interested in. That would be something that she would be interested in. But I don't think I wanted to because I was like, that's your therapist. She knows you the best. I was like, I don't want to go into a space where someone knows like you fully, you know? Okay,
you didn't communicate any of that to me. It probably lived in your head. But that was not actually said, but that's all right.
Yeah.
I just wanted us to say that. But.
Now you know.
But it was that conversation with her where she was like, I don't do couples counseling, but I have recommendations. So she sent us 3 recommendations. One was a woman of color that was Christian. Another one was a white woman that wasn't Christian, but her energy was awesome, according to Dr. Shantae. And the third one was a black woman who was a sexologist. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is before I sent those options to you. And then I remember sending them to you, and you were like, but that sexologist, though. That sound like you were like, I feel like we should go with the sexologist. I was like, I knew you were going to say that. And I was kind of like a little nervous about it. I remember feeling that way because I was like,
you were nervous all the way up leading up to when we finally met with her.
Yeah. But I mean, talk about that experience after we actually met with her. So we decided to go ahead and go with her, reached out to her. I think the package was how much, babe? Was it?
I don't even remember. How much was it?
I think it was maybe $900, $800.
I want to say it was close to $1,000.
Close to $1,000. It came with a survey, like a really long extended, not survey, but almost like
this little assessment thing you fill out, and it kind of discusses a little bit just the health of your relationship.
And then it also came with 8 sessions after that. And if you do therapy, you know that per session, depending on what they charge, like it was worth that. I was like, you could it's worth close to $1,000 for the 8 sessions alone. Plus you get the program and the assessment and everything, and you get to talk through all of that, which helps your personality differences and stuff. So go ahead, babe. I'm done talking for a little bit. Lead us on.
Oh no, I don't have much to comment or say from what you said. I was just smirking because I do think I remember thinking that it would be cool to meet with a sexologist, right? To learn any new tricks or to learn that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking during that time. And also I knew that it was a barrier for you in different ways.
Why do you keep bringing this on me?
Because
Babe,
of the
if
bracket.
I recall, We were both new to the sex.
Yeah.
Okay,
that too.
The audience, you haven't communicated that.
Yeah, we were both virgins. We never had sex. And so I thought it was cool, too, to be like, hey, let's meet with someone so we can both learn about this thing called sex and figure it out together.
You're funny, babe. Yeah.
But I just remember that. I was smirking because I remembered that being a thing that I thought. But it was cool. We finally came together with her. She had us do that survey.
Yeah.
And then we went into our first couple sessions. We're actually kind of just getting all of that paperwork laid out and all that stuff. And then we really initially started our introduction of the therapy part of it. And like part of this assessment too was part of just like a pre-marital program. So the Miss Rennell, who's a sex therapist, she also does a ton of pre-marital. Like that was also part of her thing. And so she was also kind of trained, right, for lack of better words, in that, and this assessment was kind of part of that. And so one of the things that she had said that I thought was powerful, and I always think about this because before we even met with her, and one of the things she asked, I think, during our first session is like, man, what work have you guys done, or what have you guys read, or what are you guys just coming in with? And we had read this book together before we met with her because it was a book that my therapist recommended.
Oh, yeah.
What was it called? Things I Wish I Knew Before I Was Married. Yeah. I can't remember the name of the guy.
Is it Gary Chapman?
Is it Gary Chapman? I can't remember his name, but he's the guy who's kind of came up with the 5 love languages.
It is Gary Chapman.
Gary Chapman. The Things I Wish I Knew Before I Was Married. And so, and even like that book says it, and the Miss Rennell said it too, and I always find it interesting to think about of like, man, people do all this work and training, and they'll go to college and stuff for 4 years for their career and for the jobs that they want or maybe don't want, right? And then same thing in like when you get a job and when you're in a career, you will do trainings often to do your job well, which I mean, like that's what I even do at where I work at Neighborhood Ministries in downtown Phoenix. Is we always do a whole bunch of trauma-informed trainings to help us serve the people we're dealing with better. When it's like, man, we don't really, in our culture, we don't really have specified trainings or schooling when it comes to relationships. And that's like a lifetime, right? Like your career may only be for a certain amount of time, or trainings may be for a certain amount of time, but then like often for people, right, going into marriage, often the hopes, right, is that it's a lifetime. And it's like there's no training for that really that people get. And same thing with parenting. But then I was like, the only kind of spaces that do that is sometimes like Christian church spaces will do like marriage talks and relationships talks. But I think we found, like in your story too, have found those to be more harmful than good, like coming from purity culture and different church spaces that kind of have a algorithm on what marriage looks like, and wants everyone to tailor it that way, and that's not always the healthier option. I do think things have probably gotten a little bit better in that space, but still, earlier on, we didn't probably find that as helpful, which is another reason I went to the sex therapist. Is like, man, let's just do someone who's an expert in just relationships, right? And just go to someone like that.
And she was dropping so much.
Yeah, which she was, and she was incredible. And not that it matters, but she did have like a Christian background too. And so she even was speaking to some of that stuff and knew some of that stuff because she was like, man, I know probably what, and she knew our careers as pastors. And she's like, I know what you guys are probably facing in different ways. And so it was helpful too in saying some things.
Yeah. Just even to be clear, I don't know that she would call herself Christian, but she has a
Christian background.
Yeah.
I
find a lot more people today are saying they're spiritual.
Yeah.
And like have faith, But I know sometimes that word Christian can be quite triggering to a lot of people, especially in the healing space. It's really interesting to just think about that. But yeah, I would echo that she was truly fantastic. Just so much wisdom and knowledge. It was overwhelming. Like, it was like drinking water from a fire hose, because is that what it's called? A fire hose?
From like a fire hydrant, fire hose. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was so much nuggets and wisdom. And through the 8 sessions, what we plan to do is just to talk about our walkaway points from each session. So the first session, again, like Kendall said, was an introduction. But maybe we had like some of the things, like we have some notes that we took. He took better notes than I did. That's why we're using his notes. Mine are like I wanted to write, so I wrote in like random pages in a notebook, and why am I explaining this to you? It's fine.
I'm laughing because Miss Renell called you out on that on the first day. She's like, "You're not gonna use your phone," and she was like,
"Oh my God!"
She said,
"But geez."